Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom. I want to start out by giving infinite praises to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai by Hashem Kakwadash. I'm honest to my apostle. Now there's a great millstone that rule well. And peace and salutations to the elect men pushing out this word in truth and sincerity. This is the brother Yakanan from the DC Church. And the topic I wanted to touch on today is, as this video is entitled, is focus on pleasing the Lord. And the reason why, I was pondering upon that is because we're in a situation to where, you could get caught up into yourself, get caught up into what you're doing, get caught up into how you're feeling at any specific moment, right? And we have to remind ourselves that our body and our lives aren't ours. We shouldn't be worried or concerned about how to do things to please our own flesh, please our own mind, and please our own lifestyle. Really, our main focus should be on what we can do to please Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. Whether it be the videos, how we deal with other brothers in the camp, how involved we are in the camp, the things that we do that really involve being in this ministry. We have to focus on what we can do to show to show mindfulness towards Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai's program, what he has set up, and that has and it has everything to do with contributing as much as you can into the spirit, to the Ruach HaKodesh. Of course, it starts with yourself because you have to build yourself up, but it extends into the things that you do, for other brothers, and the things that you do for the whole ministry as a whole, right? Now it says, I'm gonna start off with, a few basic scriptures. This says, this is Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. It says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So this is what faith is, and that's what's going to lead me into Hebrews 11, verse 6. It says, without faith, it's impossible to please him. So without that faith, it's impossible to please Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, right? And as we read before in verse 1, substance is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So faith is the believing of those things, but we can't see them. Even though we can't see them, and even though the things that we hope for, we believe in them, right? And without that belief, it is impossible to please Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. Because everything that comes with this ministry, everything that comes with this truth is faith-based, The hope that we have for in the kingdom, the hope that we have for America going down, the hope and the substance that we have of all these things, of all these prophecies happening, it's all faith-based. What's ultimately keeping us in this thing is the faith that we have in these words, is the faith that we have in these words, and we're confirmed, and the faith that we have is confirmed by the prophecies coming to pass. The prophecies coming to pass, and more importantly, the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit. Now it says, but without faith, it's impossible to please him, because without faith, there is no substance. Without faith, there is no substance that we can get from the scriptures that would keep us and help us endure unto the end. Faith is what ultimately is going to keep us into that latter end. It's what's going to keep us from taking that RFID microchip, that MOTB. It's what's going to keep us in times of Jacob's trouble. Now it says, for he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him, right? And, like I said earlier, you get caught up into yourself and trying to please yourself and please your please your flesh and do all these things. Now, if you believe in Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, you should believe that what you want, the things that the pleasures that you want, the pleasing that you do unto yourself, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai is going to reward you. Reward you of those things after you please him. for pleasing him, you know. And it's a constant battle, but we have to remind ourselves. We have to remind ourselves of the power that we're dealing with. We're dealing with the power that created the whole universe. So you have to believe that everything that you want, everything that you believe that you need, that you want and you need right now, it's just extra. It comes after, doing the needful to please Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Because nothing that we want, nothing that we can put our time to is anything that Yahweh Hashem Yahushua can't give us. So we have to look at it in the sense of, we have to look at it in the sense of, man, this comes first. Everything else is gonna come afterwards. Everything else is just extra. Everything else is an unpriority, and that's why that video is entitled "Focus on Pleasing the Lord," because ultimately, when you focus on pleasing the Lord, the things that you're gonna do, the things that you do, that you put your mind to please yourself, it's gonna be a byproduct of that. It's gonna be a byproduct of pleasing Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. And if not now, it's going the things that you want, you're gonna get in the kingdom. If not now, it's gonna be in the kingdom. And we have to have that mindset that we have to be okay with patiently waiting into the kingdom to get exactly what we want. Now, and we want a reward. The Lord knows that we want a reward, and He's gonna give that reward to those that diligently seek Him, and that's exactly what our duty is. That's exactly what our focus should be, is to pleasing Him, so we can get that reward, so we can get the things that are added to us, The Lord is not going to forsake His soldiers. He's going to pay His soldiers handsomely, but you just have to have faith in Him, right? And in order to have that faith, there has to be a healthy amount of fear in Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. If you go astray, if you don't do the things needful, if you don't do the things that are needful to show that faith, if you don't do the things that are needful to please Him. We have to have a healthy fear in Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Without fear, it's impossible to please Him too, because without fear, you can't have faith. Without fear, you can't have faith. It's impossible. We have to fear Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Now, and this is James chapter 2, verse 17. It says, "Even so, faith, if it have no works, being dead, Salakia." Let me slow down. This is James chapter 2, verse 17. It says, "Even so, faith, if it have not works, is dead, being alone." So we have to have faith, but without the works that we have, is dead. Without the works that we do to show that faith, is dead, being alone. We can't just have faith. We have to have that. We have to have those works too. The things that are the actions that a man would take if he actually does have faith. Because actions will always follow after the faith, because it's just it's nature. There's once there's something set, there's going to be an action behind it. So you can't have faith. You can't just have faith alone. There has to be works that follow, and to actually have those works to follow, you have to have fear. You have to have fear in Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, and a part of those works are the keeping in the law, statutes, and commandments. Part of those works are going onto the highways and edges. A part of those works are doing these videos. A part of these works are contributing to the body. Being a brother, and supporting the body, being a pillar. Those works are anything that encompasses the growth and development of the ministry of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Now it says, "Yea, a man may say, Thou hast faith, and I have works. Shew me thy faith without thy works, and I will shew thee faith by my works." And that's plain. And that's plain put. That's plainly put. We have to show our faith by our works. If we say that we believe, we have to show. We have to make sacrifices to show that we believe. And a part of that is pleasing Yahweh. It's doing the things needful to please Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. You know, going to camp on time, doing the videos. You know, supporting the camp, supporting it at the camp, and being in position, and being what's it called, and being where we need it at the right time. You know, these are the works. These are the things that show that you care about Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. These are the things that show that you have faith in Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, because all these things are sacrifices. And there's going to be and I didn't even really scratch the surface of all the sacrifices that you're going to have to make, because it doesn't just stop at the things that you do within the camp. It doesn't stop at the things that you do, you know, as in terms of the videos or whatnot. It goes into your personal life, you know. There's going to be times where you're torn in between two places, you know. Or I gotta do this, that, and the third for the fam. But, you know I have camp this Saturday. I know I need this extra money. But we have, you know, there's so many and which ways where you could be torn into doing things that are needful to please Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, and doing things to please yourself. And you just have and hey, sometimes you're just going to have to take that L and pray Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai is able to give you an opportunity to get what you need on the back end, you know? And of course, I'm not saying, I'm not saying don't be practical about a lot of things and, you know, quit your job and just say the Lord is going to bless me. Of course not, you know? But, you know, you have to be practical in the sense to where, you know, where you can make sacrifices, you do, you know, and only you know it. Only this is something that you have to ask yourself every day. What sacrifices am I able to make? You know, now, this is Sirach chapter 1, verse 11. It says, the fear of the Lord is honor and glory, and gladness and a crown of rejoicing. And this is touching on the fear. You have to have a healthy amount of fear of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. And the fear of the Lord is it's not just a good thing, it's a great thing. You know? Fear of the Lord is what keeps you from falling astray. Fear in the Lord is what keeps us on the right path. So we have to have fear. It's not fear. Fear is not a bad thing unless it's fear in the right thing. And the fear that we have in Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, it's a righteous thing, and it's ordained by Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. We have to have fear in Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. We have to fear Him. We have to fear Him with fear and trembling. You know, we have to shiver at the mere mention of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. You know, because we know the power that He holds and what He can do. You know. Now it says, the fear of the Lord is honor and glory and gladness and a crown of rejoicing, you know? So if you have the fear of the Lord, if you have that conscience that tells you, hey, yo, I shouldn't do this, you know? Damn, the Lord is going to fuck me up if I, you know? If you have that mindset, you're in the right mindset. If you have those thoughts, you're in the right thought process. But anything other than that, then you're in a position you're in a position to where you're not going to be able to inherit honor, glory, gladness, and a crown of rejoicing. You know, if you don't have the fear of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, the qualities that He's been spoken of in this scripture, it's just the opposite. Dishonor, you know, you be inglorious, you know, sad, you know, and you wouldn't have any rejoicing in anything, you know, without a crown. It says, the fear of the Lord maketh a merry heart. You know, the fear of the Lord maketh a merry heart. It's a great thing. It's not fearing the Lord is not a sad thing. You know, when you have that healthy fear of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, it makes you merry-hearted because you're able to make the right judgments in your life. You know, No judgment, no poor judgment was ever made in a good fear in Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. You have to have, it'll give you good acumen and good judgment, to have when you do have fear in Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, And when you don't, that's where pride comes in. And when pride comes in, everything comes crashing down. You start fucking up. You start making mistakes that you're not supposed to be making. You start making foolish mistakes. When pride comes in, you make foolish mistakes. Not just regular mistakes. You'll be like, oh damn, I should have caught that. Nah, you make foolish mistakes. Mistakes that you couldn't even see yourself doing at a certain point in time. And you don't, and the crazy thing is that you wouldn't even notice it, because that pride creeps in slowly, and it festers and it builds over time. So before you know it, you're a whole completely different person with a different mindset and different viewpoints on certain topics, and it leads you to make hasty decisions and unrighteous decisions, right? Now it says, the fear of the Lord maketh a merry heart and giveth joy and gladness and a long life. Whoso feareth the Lord, it shall go well with him at the last. So, like I said, focus on pleasing Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, because ultimately what you're doing, is a benefit to yourself, because it should go well with you at the last. If you're in a situation to where you like, damn, shit ain't going my way, well, focus on pleasing Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, and maybe things will go your way, And if not today, then tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then next week. If not next week, then next year. If not next year, next 2 years. If not next 2 years, then when Yahweh Shai makes his return. You go like, this is not a thing to where if you do the things that you need to do, you're not going to be rewarded. There is a reward at the end, and you have to believe that, you have to believe it. You have to believe it. It says, fear the Lord maketh a merry heart and giveth joy and gladness and a long life. Whoso feareth the Lord, it shall go well with them at the last. It shall go well with you. You can never fail. You never truly fail when your heart is in the right place of pleasing Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, when you're doing the things that you need to. There is no failure. There's failure in giving up and falling astray, but there's no failure in doing what you need to do to please Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. Even if you're not able to see the fruits of it right there plainly as it's happening, It says, whoso feareth the Lord, it shall go well with him at the last, and he shall find favor in the day of his death. To fear the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So to fear the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. You're not able to get wisdom unless you have fear in Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. There is no wisdom without Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, right? And it was created with the faithful in the womb, and it's created in the faithful in the womb. So he was that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and that fear was given to him in the womb. Of course we're battling this flesh, but with that healthy amount of fear and that faith, we're gonna win those battles at the last end, and we're gonna be able to show our faith, and we're gonna be able to have a good fear of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. Now, this is Psalm chapter 147, verse 11. It says, the Lord taketh pleasure in them that fear him. You take pleasure. That's pleasing unto the Lord, right? Fearing him. You take a pleasure in them that fear him, in those that hope in his mercy, right? So not only do you have to fear him, you have to hope in his mercy, and the mercy is being given even right now, right? We have a chance to come back into Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. We were given his name, We were given. He let us know his secret things, his prophecies, and we're preparing for those times, And we hope, and we have hope in the mercy of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, that he's going to forgive us of our sins. It's going to be blotted out, and we're going to have everlasting life, and we won't taste of that death that 2/3 of our people will have to go through, right? Now, this is Proverbs chapter 16, verse 7. It says, when a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh even his enemies be at peace of him. You know, so when your ways please please the Lord, when the things that you're doing is pleasing unto the Lord, the sacrifices that you're making, the things that you're doing, and the mindset that you have while you're doing them, you know, even your enemies will be at peace with you, right? So if Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai be with us, ain't a goddamn thing that could come against us, you know? There isn't a thing that can go wrong that would put you in the spirit to where you feel as if as if the Lord has forsaken you. You have a true understanding, and you'll have true wisdom, you know, and it will cause even your enemies to be at peace with you, because the Lord will be able to put spirits on even your enemies to not harm you, to not do things that would not go in your that won't go in your favor. If you really want favor with anything else in this world, you have to have favor with Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai first, you know. And in order to have favor with Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, you have to please him. And in order to please him, you have to have that faith, and you also have to have that fear in him. You know, Lord's will, brothers were edified. I want to stay call law Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. You know, double honors to my apostle. Now there's a great millstone that rule well, and peace citations to the elect men pushing out this word in truth and sincerity. Until next time, I want to say shalom.